How's everybody going? There's Josh right there.
There's 0 people. Oh.
There's LJ. LJ just started, man. The thing just started, man. It just started. Like nobody, people will be on. Yesterday there was like 100 people in here. You got to wait. We got a big show today. Josh and LJ are going to go wrestle because LJ missed practice yesterday, so he's going to be doing a lot of extra work today, I think. And then he's got to do. Let's see what he got here.
Oh, one person's on. Hi.
His diversity report. He did it. He did it on German and Ireland football. So he talked a lot about the football. So what'd you get, an A? They don't give grades.
Yeah, everything was good.
Don't give grades.
I got an A.
Good job. LJ got an A, but he did a good job.
Oh,
so
now 0's people on.
We talked about it, and so. We're going to bring in, got a guest today. Hopefully,
are you saying that when no one's on there?
Hopefully, he come on more. I'm going to add him to the stream here. We got Alistair Corp.
Hey, guys.
How you doing, Alistair?
Hey, man. Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. We've been basically, every day we talk about a lot of different games.
I'm LJ.
This is LJ. He's going to be gone in a couple minutes.
And I'm a state champ.
So what we do is, this not a lot of games. Usually what we'll do is talk about the games on the next day. So not a lot of games on Friday this week. We might talk a little bit about the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana tonight because there's still some games and there's still some stuff to play for. But, basically maybe wanted to get your thoughts on, some of the games coming up in, obviously Champions League final, the English playoff final, and, anything basically you want to talk about, Nations League or anything that's coming up. So thank you for joining, and I appreciate you coming on. If you want to just talk about what you do, I know you do work for Covers, and, if you want to tell everybody what you do here.
Yeah, no worries. So my main responsibility with Covers is as a publishing editor. So I largely work on the editorial side, but chip in with the written coverage of soccer, typically Premier League, and then F1, NBA, and NFL in season. But soccer is largely my main focus, or at least that's kind of what I carry the most for Covers.
Formula One. That's we have a Formula One show as well on usually Thursday and Friday morning. We talk a little about, myself and Jim Williams, we talk about the races coming up. So if you ever want to come on there, it's pretty cool. It's a little bit earlier in the day. So the Monaco, I know the Monaco race is pretty interesting. So you had the race over here in Miami, but I guess we'll just start off with the Champions League final here. Liverpool plus 102, Real Madrid plus 255, draw plus 260. They're pretty interesting stats coming in. Obviously, this was the final in 2018. I don't know who's your team, by the way, Alistair.
I'm a Newcastle United fan, so not very far away from the Champions League at the moment.
Not for long.
Yeah,
they're going to be in the Champions League really quickly, I think. Richest team in the world. That's awesome. I got a couple of buddies that are Newcastle fans, and it's such a big club, and they need to be. This is where they should be. So you're not necessarily rooting for Liverpool here, which is, I'm a Manchester United fan. I am, definitely not rooting for Liverpool. Liverpool has no losses in 18. They've both teams have scored in 5 of the last 6. They've been the first to concede in 5 of 6. Less than 4.5 cards and 4 of 5. Less than 10.5 corners and 6 out of 7. Not a lot of stats about Real Madrid. I mean, they wrapped up the league so early. They've had some crazy comebacks. I was at the game in Madrid against Chelsea when Benzema scored. Just the one stat here, when the odds are this high, you're not really supposed to win the game, but Real Madrid actually wins it a lot of the time. And let me just pull up here the the actual game. Share screen window. I'm a big proponent. We have a lot of people in here that I'm a huge Benzema fan, and he's won me a lot of money over the last few months and last year. I mean, he's just been so big. I mean, are you targeting anything in this game?
I mean, pretty much made a habit out of betting Benzema anytime goal scorer throughout this knockout stage because it's just his form in the moment is unbelievable. I mean, I know before the Ballon d'Or ceremony last November, there's a huge push from like Madrid media pointing out that it's his year, it's his year. And obviously other guys had kind of like outperformed him up to that point, but looking ahead to Ballon d'Or in the fall, like it almost has to be Benzema. Nobody has looked at. I mean, Sal's form has dropped off since the fall, since like AFCON, but Benzema has just been on a different planet, and so I'm pretty happy to constantly target him for anytime goal scorer, especially. I mean, at plus money is absurd to be honest.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy here. I mean, you see here, you bet Parks here plus 143. I've seen it at plus 150. I mean, it's almost a lock. Our guy Bill McDonald, who's in here sometimes, hopefully he's in here today. I mean, he just scores goals. I mean, he's automatic, and it's he comes up with big goals too. And my thing is, and I once again, I could be biased. I feel like I'm pretty neutral about this. I know Liverpool's a very good team, and I feel like I've been pretty neutral about them when I talk about them when they're not playing Manchester. I just think they're running out of gas a little bit. They've kind of, you see that one stat where they've allowed teams to take the lead a lot, and I just feel like the last month they've just been chasing City, and they've been playing these extra games and long games in the two cups. And it just seems to me like they're running out of gas. And Real Madrid's going to come into this game pretty fresh off the back of, basically they won the league 3 weeks ago, and they've been able to rotate some players. I mean, they had such a 15-point lead, and City and Liverpool had, basically going at it for 6 months. I mean, do you feel like, do you have a lean in the game at all, or are you just more like looking for some of the props?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is something to Liverpool running out of steam at the moment. I mean, obviously, like the gegenpressing style just is so physically demanding. Yep. And I mean, there's got to be a worry that when they played Spurs in the Champions League final in, I guess it was like spring 2018, they had 2 weeks from their last Premier League game to the Champions League final in Madrid. And this year it's like the 5-day turnaround. Obviously, fitness in the midfield is a little bit of a concern right now with Thiago. I still do lean Liverpool just because I think that City and Liverpool are cut above every single other team in the world right now. I'm not... to be honest with you, I expected Madrid to get bounced by PSG. I expected them to get bounced by City. So, I mean, they made me look like a fool time and time again. But I can't shy away from Liverpool, at least on the money line, because I think they're on a different level to Madrid. And physicality and like high level athleticism has never really been Madrid's game. It's not like Modric is going to punish you with like the freshest legs in the universe. And Thiago, I think, is more replaceable than Fabinho. Obviously, both world-class players, but if that's your biggest concern fitness-wise, I'm not overly worried about it, and I think they should be close to full strength.
Yeah, I've been saying, the targeting here, the double chance for Real Madrid at minus 124 to get, draw and Real Madrid at minus 124 is a decent play as well. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting game. I'm pretty excited to watch it on. I remember watching the 2018 when we actually had a party and I'm right outside Philly here, but we had a party over in New Jersey to watch it. We had about 30, 40 people in a bar, so that was pretty cool. I don't know what the deal is going to be this time, but I think it's going to be a pretty decent game. What have you had a chance to look at the English playoff final at all?
Not from a huge betting slant, but it is something that I've followed quite a bit. I enjoy following the championship. I'm like a pseudo Fulham fan, mostly just because of their connection to North America. Also love Alexander Mitrovic, so kind of kept an eye on the playoff there. Obviously, like what Forrest has done, what Steve Cooper has done since coming in has been exceptional, and I'd be hard pressed to pick against Forrest in that final.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, they were winless and had 1 point through 7 matches, and really, had a game with 2 matches to go. They played Bournemouth and really had that chance to go up for automatic promotion, and then they ended up giving up that 83rd minute goal. And a lot of times when that happens, these teams kind of struggle in the playoff. The team that finishes third, Nottingham Forest, actually dropped back to 4th, and had to play in that 4-5 game, got through in the penalties. And now you see, plus 112 against Huddersfield Town. They've played 3 times this year because they played head to head on March 7th in the FA Cup. There's some pretty interesting stats that go with this game here. Let me pull this up for you here. It's obviously the richest game in world football. We've talked about this a little bit. If you go up to the Premier, if you win this game, here's your 160 million pound check. And then, if you're like Brentford and can stay up, now all of a sudden it's basically 3 years because you get the parachute. So, you're making, it's about 500 million pounds to be in the Premier League. I mean, everybody's trying to get in. It's the richest league in the world. Forest has won 2 of the 3. Huddersfield has no losses in 9 games, and they've been the first to score in 9 out of 9. Forest has no clean sheet in 5 out of 5, and they're the first to score in 7 out of 8. So both these teams like to score early. We're going to talk a little bit more about this next week. Next week, tomorrow on the game. We'll have a couple other Kaepernick on, and our woman Tony coming on to talk a little bit about that. Is there any kind of games that you've been looking at towards where are you based?
I'm based just outside Vancouver.
Okay. With my man Joe, who's listening. Have you looked at? Are you an MLS fan at all? With the I know Vancouver's not very good.
That's an understatement there.
Oh yeah, I think one of the kids I used to coach against plays. Plays Jake Nerwinski, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think he might be one of the more long-serving Whitecaps actually too.
Yeah, he played at Notre Dame High School. I used to coach at the high school. We actually did a little bit of claim to fame. We played a team with 2 pro players in the Mercer County tournament, and we ended up beating them. So it says a little bit more about not my coaching job, but I think that some of the other coaches, they had 2 pro players. But have you watched that? Are you a big kind of fan of the MLS or it's a little crazy. The games are, it goes back and forth. Last week it was all Sunday and then a couple Saturday. Here again, I mean, it's a lot of late Saturday games. Have you been able to kind of handicap any of those games?
It's something I like to check in on kind of closer to like MLS Cup playoff time, just because it's so fluid, especially like that they have a different schedule to the rest of like the world calendar. Yeah. I find it's among the leagues that you can see like flip on its entire head during the summer transfer window more than anything else. Like I think about all the years that like the Sounders have been underperforming and they make a splash. Like I think it was the case when they brought in Nico Ladero, Rui Diaz. Like it just flips right on its head, and then you kind of get an idea of what the league is like and kind of a better picture as they head toward the playoffs. It's such a long season that early in it, there's too much uncertainty that I try to avoid it a little bit.
The crazy thing too is, I mean, we talk about this, our guy Kaepernick. I mean, when you look at some of these odds, I mean, it's just, half these games are like both teams are plus money. It's more than half. I think that, probably like closer to 9 or 10 of the 14 games each week. And you're sitting there, Toronto FC and Chicago Fire, plus 185. It's tough to bet. I know, like a lot of times with like you said, you want to try to let the game settle. I think is that pretty good strategy as well. I know for like NFL and some of this, a lot of people want to bet like preseason games and the the NFL first week, but it's tough to kind of figure out what's going on until a couple weeks in, right? For most of these things.
Absolutely. I think in general, I'm a little bit more conservative as a bettor than some of the guys that I write with and some of the guys that I work with. I just like to kind of remain aware of what I don't know and then just kind of let that stack up until it's small enough that I can comfortably kind of get involved. Especially something like MLS, you just like there's nothing worse than watching an MLS game that you think that you have a good lean on, and then it goes the complete opposite way, and you think like, oh yeah, I was so off on this, and just hits you like a ton of bricks.
It's you know what, like it's hard. I mean, I bring in Kaepernick and a couple of the other people for the Friday show for the second half, and kind of let them kind of dictate what we're hey, what games, because I can't I do the social media for MLS Next Pro Team, but I watch all those games, but it's just hard for me to kind of watch some of those games all the time because it's on at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday, or it's late at night on a Saturday. I'm usually not watching TV at that time, so I let the other kind of people come in and talk about that. Let me just go to the I don't know, do you want to talk a little Formula One?
Hey, I'd love to talk a little Formula One. I'm always open to that.
Yeah. We'll get a little Formula One out here. I like this. I think this is pretty cool how they have the we talk about this a little bit on the Winning Formula show. It's just, you see these odds for the practice on Friday morning at 8 a.m. and it's Leclerc, Verstappen, and maybe one of the other Ferraris, maybe one of the other Red Bulls. Here you see George Russell, and then it's for qualification it's the same two, and then the odds kind of come down a little bit, and then when it gets to the race it's just the two, and it's just like flipping a coin between Leclerc and Verstappen. Last week I had the winner and the constructor, which was pretty good, but sometimes you get decent odds for the practice. Verstappen at plus 200. Monaco obviously is a pretty, it's a great course to see, and but not a lot of it's not as open as some of the other courses. When you get to to Montreal or whatever, there's some places to pass. Here I think it's a little different. I mean, what are your thoughts on this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, especially this kind of reminds me of like the end of last year when I was coming down to Lewis and Max, and it was almost like a circuit by circuit thing because their strengths were so defined, and that seems to be the case again, where it's like the Red Bull is so powerful in the straights and the Ferrari is so good in the corners, that I just kind of look at like what the circuit is, what is its characteristics, and who will it favor. Like last week, I had Leclerc to top qualifying and race win ahead of the weekend. That was, I think, like plus 187. And
yeah,
I was looking great until the retirement. But I think I'm going to probably return to that well this weekend, just because like Monaco for sure favors Ferrari. Like obviously there's the thing of Leclerc's absurd bad luck in Monaco. I think it's 6 races. It's his home race and he's never finished any of them. Obviously last year was a bit dramatic with him.
Yeah, it's you see the the odds for qualification here on Saturday, minus 125, and then obviously in the race is plus 110, and Verstappen. I mean, could you see? This is probably not the great. Is there going to be any kind of time where you're going to look at some of these races and say, you know what, I'm going to look outside these two guys and maybe go with Sainz Jr. or I mean, I know Lewis Hamilton's basically said, like, listen, I have no shot with the car this year. We're so far behind. Is there kind of any of the races that you might take a shot on somebody else like that?
Sometimes I'll kind of try to notice like the more because if you're going to bet on Carlos Sainz, you might as well bet on Leclerc. If you're going to bet on Sergio Perez, you might as well bet on Max Verstappen. It's more so noticing trends. Like last year, very early in the season, something Aston Martin was doing was just running Vettel and Stroll like late into races and basically just hoping to get a red flag and get the free pit stop and then find themselves in a podium position. And so I was like throwing flyers on both drivers at the start of the week at plus 50,000, just hoping that we'd get like a chaos race. And it almost worked out in Hungary when Vettel finished second and like was pushing Ocon the entire way because it was rain, because like 10 drivers crashed out in the first turn. So it's more just like throwing flyers on that, seeing what happens, because when you get into like the midfields, chances are like a guy like Ricardo is not going to win a race on merit. A guy like I mean, this year Bottas isn't going to win a race on merit. Like guys like that, you're better off almost, just going for the Hail Mary more than like, oh, maybe he has an outside chance.
Do you ever look at the we looked last week at some of the the safety car to be used was like minus 167. Yes, now it's minus 835. I mean, it's just basically saying like it's definitely going to happen. Do you look at some of the props or some of the matchups? Do you kind of go deeper into it, or into a little bit, or obviously the car to register the fastest lap, it's either Ferrari or Red Bull. I mean, do you go into some of the other stuff, some of the other matchups a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I like to look around anything from like both cars points finish, top 6 finishes for drivers. I do like those qualifying match bets are a lot of fun. Basically, yeah, I'm kind of open to anything. I try to stick away from the ones that are less predictable, like something like free practice 1. It's just like, yeah, you just don't know what the cars are doing. You might be trying a different setup. You might find, like, I think Verstappen last week ran into traffic and couldn't do a fast lap. So it's just like there's no way he was going to post a time that was up there with the best. But yeah, it kind of depends on the circuit, and you kind of get a feel for who's expected to be stronger there. And I find the books don't necessarily always reflect that. Like, I think sometimes you can get really good value because, if a driver is stronger at circuit A and you're at circuit A, but they have been poorly performing because they've been at like a circuit B for the last 3 races, you can find a little bit of value there. So it's just kind of staying on top of where they're going to be and who's going to excel there.
Yeah, definitely. And, I just, a lot of times, like when you said about the races and the courses and the drivers, this year, the races are going to be, a lot of, top 3. I mean, you see 335 for Leclerc, but, you can, plus 110 and plus 150 is still it's still plus money. It's still good value for those. So, if you get Verstappen to win, or, you get Leclerc to win, obviously he's favored without the bad luck here. You're getting plus money on your bet. So, if you're throwing, $100 down, you're getting 210 back. So, it's not always the worst thing when you have, 2 guys and you're just basically trying to say, you're trying to handicap maybe 2 guys there instead of maybe, the field where it's a little bit tougher. Some of these other games or soccer, MLS, where you're trying to, go down, 14 games and try to figure that out. I think that's, maybe something that bettors can take advantage of this year. Might not be like that next year when some, Porsche comes in or whatever. So,
yeah, no, I that is kind of why I've come to like Formula One probably the most as far as betting on, just because there is always value to be found. Just as long as you follow it, there's stuff to extract, and you can almost always get good odds, especially if you have a good feeling. Like, I do think that Leclerc either to win or the race or top Saturday and Sunday is like very strong value this weekend, because Ferrari should more or less dominate.
Yeah, and once again, he's plus 110 to win the race. He's practice, once again, it's tough to figure that out, but plus 125, but he's also minus 125 to qualify first. So, still around even money a little bit, got to lay 125, but still not that bad. So you definitely, if Leclerc is going to be the guy, there's a lot of money to be won this weekend on the race. And I know, some of the guys that some of the people that follow me on Twitter, that you could tell, like the big Manchester United, the European football guys are big Formula One guys. So, I know that they win some money and they like to hear about the Formula One. So it's always interesting. Is there any other kind of games that you're looking at this week? You're a tennis guy at all, or?
Only kind of toward the tail end of the majors. I mean, it's
next week probably.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with Monaco is like I mean, the race itself is fairly boring, but it's almost got like that Super Bowl feel where like you almost want to make an event out of it. So usually Monaco gets a fair chunk of my bankroll for the weekend, and that's kind of what I'm obsessing over at this point.
Okay, cool. Have you looked at the any interest in the Nations League at all? I know like the World Cup playoff is next week. I went to the Nations League final in back in 2019 in Portugal. It was pretty cool. I'm looking at the World Cup playoff a little bit more than some of this other, the Scotland Ukraine. I think that's because it's the first day of the UEFA Nations League next week. Any interest in that World Cup qualification?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that and the I can't even remember what they're calling it, but like the game between Italy and Argentina at Wembley next weekend as well is something that I'm paying a little bit of attention to, just because
Okay.
it's yet another thing that they're experimenting with, mostly as a cash grab, but it'll be quality hopefully. But yeah, I'm honestly surprised that Ukraine is at plus 255 because I was expecting at least the public to kind of, I mean, it sounds a bit crass, but like overreact to the feel good story of it all and kind of get behind it. But I think it would be a bit foolish to underrate like how disrupted their preparation has been. I mean, some of these guys obviously haven't been training or playing for months at a time, and whereas Scotland are, most of those guys are just coming out of their domestic season. So I think Scotland are rightfully favorites there.
And Scotland is good. I mean, this team is, they got through qualification, they got through the play, they got through the group, they got into this game, and I think that they have some talent, and I think it's a tough game. I don't know if you follow the Eurovision. Do they broadcast the Eurovision in Canada at all from that competition from Europe?
They don't, but I do like to kind of follow it from afar when it's going on, because it's just
Ukraine won it because like the fan vote or whatever it was. So like I guess they were pretty good, but everybody in the world knew what was going on. No, here it was, to me, like I said this the other day, they have. They said Scotland and Wales should step aside and let Ukraine go to the World Cup. And I was like, wait a second. Well, if I'm Scotland, I'm like, I'm not stepping. This is the World Cup, man. It's not like the Nations League or whatever. Like if it was the Nations League, yeah, go ahead. Well, like it's a World Cup, man. It's the biggest cup. It's the biggest tournament in the world.
And I mean, I think to a man, almost every single Ukrainian player does not want to make the World Cup that way. They don't want something given to them. They want to earn the spot of the biggest tournament of their lives. But I don't know. I'm still a little bit stung from Ukraine at the Euros last summer, because I was pretty high on them coming in. Like Shevchenko had them playing a really fun style, but they had like a very doable group with the Netherlands. They just they didn't really deserve to get out of that group. They weren't all that great, and then obviously England kind of shoved them aside. But now they're kind of moved on from Shevchenko. I don't know if they're still playing the exact same style, but I don't know. I think Scotland, people kind of like to underrate them because you think it's like a gritty route one style, but they have a lot of talent. Like you're saying, they're not a poor team by any means.
Have you looked at the World Cup odds at all?
Yeah, I've been I've been following a little bit, just because I'm waiting for those Canada odds to get to the group to get a little bit better for me to hit it, because I am feeling awfully confident.
So to win their group?
To get out of their group.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where is it? Trying to see if I can find this out. They had the what group are they? Group F?
With Belgium, Croatia, and Morocco there. Yeah, F.
Oh yeah. Yeah, look, I can't, first of all, I can't believe their last pick, because they're better than Morocco. They won CONCACAF. They
dominated too.
Yeah, and Croatia's a little bit
older.
Ancient. I think the World Cup. We're gonna have a huge event for the World Cup. I don't know where it's gonna be. I live close to Parks Casino outside of Philly, so hoping Parks will have something. My friend Emmett Austin owns a bunch of hotels. He's opening a hotel right outside Coachella in Palm Springs. But the games are crazy. Like for you, 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 8 a.m., like 11 a.m., right? It's like crazy times on the West Coast, I think.
Yeah, I'm already looking to embrace it. I went through last summer doing the 6 a.m., 9 a.m. noon, so I'm ready for it. I don't mind at all.
Yeah, I mean, Canada hasn't been there in so long, but and Belgium, I think Belgium's probably the favorite, De Bruyne and stuff, but they're kind of a. I know they got to the semifinal last time. I picked France last time, but I think Canada is a decent value there.
To get out of the group, I'm happy.
Top
absolutely.
two in the group. I think you could probably get them right now at I haven't seen what the odds are.
I think last time I checked it was like plus 350 to get out of the group around there, but I mean, yeah, watching them through the teams that do well in tournaments are teams that can adapt to their opponent, and that's what they did throughout qualifying. Like they're constantly changing their shape, they're constantly changing their lineup, they're changing the way they played. Like they can hit you on the counter, they can break teams down. I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed by any stretch. I feel really good about it.
Well, I think the good thing here when you see the schedule, they play Belgium first. If you get any kind of result in that match, I mean, really, if you could get 3 points, probably 4 points gets out of the group. The Croatia game obviously is big on November 27th, but if they can get a point in one of those two matches and then have to play Morocco, you got it in your hands there. That's actually some pretty decent value. I took France to win the World Cup. I bet them in 2017. I had France to win. I think I've told this on here. I had France to win the Euros. What's up, Lex? How you doing? Thanks for joining in. I had France to win the Euros in 2016, and they got to the final, and everyone said I should hedge my bet, and I didn't. And they hit every post. They hit both posts, the crossbar on both ends. And then Portugal won. I was so mad that I didn't hedge it, and then I took them again in 2017 for the 2018 World Cup, and they got that horrible break. They had to play Argentina and Messi, and they won that game. They came back and won. They were down 2-1. They won 4-3. And they got to the final, and everyone's like, "You got to hedge your bet," because I had them at plus 700, and I hammered them. And they're like, "You got to hedge your bet." And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm taking a -1 in the final. So I doubled down, not learning anything. And then they ended up winning 4-2. But, I think this year is going to be interesting because there's some pretty, Brazil, obviously, everyone thinks Neymar, but Vinicius and they're Richarlison, they're pretty good. Right now, France being the third choice at plus 650, plus 700 with some books, I think is lunacy.
Oh, it's absurd.
France should be the favorite in this tournament. I mean, they won last year, and I think they have a better team. Their midfield is better now.
Oh, it's such a cliche, but I think that France's third string squad would be in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Their depth is out of this world. It's
crazy. I mean, you see this, their Real Madrid team when Tchouaméni is going to go there next year.
Yeah.
And, they're going to have Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and then, whoever. I think they won, whoever, Valverde to be the other guy. But France is, like you said, France, the guys on France's bench are ridiculous. Their 1 through 23 is so good. They leave guys out of the squad that and Benzema, Benzema team. He's, they got Benzema, they got the Ballon d'Or winner. There's Griezmann, who no one talks about, but he won the Golden Boot a couple years ago at the Euros. And I know England is pretty good, but they let's face it, they're gonna bottle it. They'll bottle at some point in that thing with that. I know they got to the Euro final. That's probably why they're plus 650, but I would probably throw them out. Is there anybody below? I've been saying you basically anybody below I don't even know why Argentina is at plus 1,000. I know they're okay, but is there anybody kind of down the board that you would look at and say they might have a chance, or do you really think it's the top four?
I mean, you're gonna flinch at it because you're a Manchester United fan, but the thing with Portugal is if you can minimize Ronaldo's importance to the team, I think they have a much better shot because their talent is absurd. You just can't. It's the same thing with Manuel. You cannot be playing with 10 men at an elite level. And frankly, off the ball, Ronaldo is just completely irrelevant at this point. If you're not going to press, if you're not going to try to cut down passing lanes, it's to, your magical goal scoring can only get you so far. But Portugal's talent is absurd. I mean, Bernardo Silva is maybe the best midfielder in England this year. Ruben Dias, maybe the best center back. Diogo Jota has come up with huge goals. I mean, they have so much talent. It just kind of comes down to the Ronaldo question.
Yeah, I actually, that's, I actually think this Portugal side should be a little bit higher. I forget what group they're in. See if they're in a tough group. Some of these other teams, I just, Netherlands. I don't know. See the groups here. I think this England and USA group is pretty interesting. I think everyone just thinks England's going to walk through that group like they did in 2010, and then USA ended up winning the group. Portugal's in with Uruguay, Ghana, and South Korea, and Uruguay's at plus 175 because it's, once again, everyone remembers Uruguay from. I don't know. Maybe you can kind of tell me if you think this is true, but like for the World Cup, I think sometimes, the odds kind of go with what people seem to remember from these teams. Oh yeah, Uruguay made that run to the World Cup final that one year, or Germany. I mean, do you feel like some of the odds are like that with the World Cup because people kind of remember that stuff?
Yeah, I have to imagine it does for sure kind of play on the public because so many people, especially so many like World Cup bettors, you watch a team in 2018 and then you just completely forget about them until 2022, or maybe you check into the Euros. But for sure, you don't see like the evolution of the teams. You don't see how they've changed. You don't see like both in their play style and in their construction. So yeah, for sure, I think it plays on the public like that. But yeah, Portugal, Uruguay. I mean, I think Portugal is miles ahead of them.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you get them at minus 125. I actually might be betting that tonight. Looking at that, I mean, it's really France, Denmark, Peru. By the way, there's a stat that I came across. Every time France has been in a group with Denmark, they've won a cup. It happened in the Euro 84, 98, 2000. 2018, like every time they're in a group with Denmark, France wins a cup. So take that for what it is. I even think this Netherlands group, Ecuador, Senegal, I think they'll probably walk that group, even though you can get them at minus 148. If having watched Mexico, I know haven't been real impressed with them. Do you think anybody in that group other than Argentina has a chance? I mean, Argentina at minus 182, I think they kind of remember Messi, but obviously he's a little bit washed now, but probably still better than anybody in that group, I guess, right?
Yeah, to win the group, I don't know that anybody else stands out as a big threat. I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with Mexico in qualifying, and there's a lot of I know there's a lot of controversy around that team right now. They're not thrilled with the way that Tata has them playing, so kind of see how it goes. But their talent is miles ahead of the other two teams in that group. So if anybody's going to push Argentina, and I mean, like you were saying about England, similar to that, Argentina do always seem to have a major gaffe in them, major tournament time.
Yeah, it's I just when you look at this stuff, I mean, I'm big France. I could see I kind of split it like this. I think when we went on, on the ESPN show, I said maybe, take if you're gonna bet 300, maybe I would do like 150 on France to win, maybe 75 on Brazil, 50 on Portugal, and then maybe like 25 on, I don't know, England just to cover it or something like that. I've done that a couple times, but it's, to me, I mean, I think, there's Belgium, and there's a lot of teams with high odds, Spain and Germany, one of those two teams, only one of those two teams is going to win the group. And then the other one's going to get put in a tougher bracket. So, I think, maybe Spain, but I don't know. They haven't impressed me as much either. So, I think it's interesting kind of looking ahead here. Don't sleep. Peter Watt says, don't sleep on Lewandowski. Yeah, look, I think if you look at that, we'll go back and look at the World Cup futures.
I mean, have you seen Benzema's odds for the Golden Boot recently?
Oh, at the World Cup?
Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. I think it's like plus 1,200 right now because it's not a lock that he makes the squad. But if he makes the squad,
you got him at plus 1,400 here. How? I mean, the only thing, the Golden Boot is tough sometimes because it's not always the team that plays. But like if you're getting to the final, you have 7 games. But who's like Benzema's got to be in the squad, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's all kind of healed now, obviously he didn't really come back until the Euros, but if he's going to continue in the squad, I mean, they're going to get they're going to play at least 6 games, you figure. And I mean, playing with an enormous amount of talent, it's either that or like basically comes down to who takes penalties for a team that scores a lot. I mean, I think I remember Ronaldo was like joint top scorer at maybe World Cup 2018 or finished one behind Kane, and Portugal didn't make it all that far, but they just got enough pens that kind of loaded up the goals a little bit.
Yeah, this list is pretty interesting because you got Messi and Argentina, and I don't know if you watched League On this year. He was atrocious, and he was just collecting a paycheck. I heard somewhere he might be going to Inter Miami, because I think Ousmane Dembele just signed with PSG today, so maybe they're going to have Mbappe and Dembele there. I mean, France is, by the way, it's just an embarrassment of riches. Maybe that's why he's down the list a little bit. Well, obviously, and Kylian Mbappe at 1,100. But, some of these names, like you said, Ronaldo might take penalties, but, Portugal, if they're relying on him, they're probably in a little bit of trouble. Neymar for Brazil. I don't know. I don't even know if he's their main, could be Vinicius can be taking some goals from him. And obviously Richarlison, they're a little scary with their play. You got Depay at 2,500 and some of these, Gnabry, Germany. I can't imagine Serge Gnabry is going to lead Germany, but who knows? Someone said you should maybe bet on Robert Lewandowski to lead Germany in goals. And I said, yeah, he doesn't play for Germany.
Yeah.
He plays for Poland. It's not who he plays for, Bayern Munich. Pete says, I can't see him not making that squad over the last 2 years. He would need to black about 5 more. Yeah, remember, he was in the Euro squad. So, he's back in the squad. I mean, he's got to be in the squad. And the only way I would say is if he gets injured. The only thing too is now, I mean, do you if you find some value in these bets early, will you take a chance now and risk, being if someone gets hurt or something, they're not there, will you risk that now if you see like crazy value, or you want to wait till it's maybe like a couple weeks out? Maybe the odds haven't changed that much, and maybe you'll lose a little value or whatever. Or you kind of someone that's, if if you see something 7 months out, I'm going to take it.
It has to be something pretty exceptional to get me to not just kind of bet in the moment. Not really somebody who loves to bet too far into the future, just because there's just not as much engagement in it for me. But something like the Benzema odds was something that I jumped on just because it stood out as absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, there's not really a reason to expect him not to be in the squad after he was in the Euro squad. Seemingly those fences are mended. So it just kind of stood out to me as quite silly, especially for how dominant France should be.
Yeah. It's, people were talking about, Anthony Martial. Like all the United fans on Twitter were mad because Martial wasn't in the squad. And I said, man, he should be in France's F squad. Like it's between Brazil and France. I mean, I have to look at the bracket. I think they're on separate sides of the bracket. That would be an unbelievable final. France and Brazil. I know it's like 180 days away or however many days away it is. I'm still even though it should be starting in a couple weeks. We usually have the fall or the summer tournament starting, around July or June 10th and finishing around July 10th. We got to wait a little longer, but it's just, they see, Giroud as well with a trophy. Yeah, Giroud just won the title with AC Milan this year, so he's winning a lot. Yeah, France has enough options that they could throw, probably 3 squads out there and probably win 3 different groups. So they're just really excited. They're really exciting. I don't know if anybody has any comments here for Alistair, but get them in now. Yeah, just what kind of stuff are you doing? You're doing a lot of editing for covers?
Yeah, that's my predominant focus for sure is largely editing. We got some good Champions League content on the site this weekend. We have game picks up now, and then we should have player props coming in the next day or two, and give it the coverage it deserves, because yeah, it's going to be an awesome final.
Yeah. What's the website they can find you? Where can they find a lot of this stuff here?
Everything at covers.com.
Covers.com. Let's see. There you go. And then you can just go to
Should be just
sports,
one
right?
more scroll down there. You'll see it in sequence there.
Oh yeah. Red light district. Yeah, definitely. And I know, it's a lot of people have different, Sam's best bet is Liverpool -1. Obviously, it's something that's kind of divided opinion. A lot of people here, people leaning Liverpool, people leaning Real Madrid, remembering from 2018. But, obviously, the best, I think, good thing about the site is that, you have a lot of people on there and you kind of giving you a lot of knowledge, right?
Oh yeah, we have some amazing talent and covering pretty much all bases. I mean, our baseball expert is a phenomenal baseball expert. Our hockey guy absolutely crushes it. Come football season, we cover it from every angle. So yeah, a ton of talent there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and there's just so much, it's. I think the cool thing about soccer and European football, whatever you call it, wherever you are, is that football, NFL. It's over in February. They got the draft, and then starts up. But baseball, same thing. I mean, there's games on Christmas Day, and in some of the countries, and there's games. I mean, it's basically every single day of the year you can find some game somewhere to bet on. It's a really unique sport. Unlike some of the other ones where, there's an off season there, there's a Premier League off season, but then when the Premier League is done, the Norwegian League is playing all the time. And the, UEFA Champions League qualification starts up in like 2 weeks. And it's a really cool sport to bet on and to follow. So I think that's one of the things that makes it so great.
Yeah, it's one of the few pluses of the MLS is that it just helps the soccer calendar remain consistent through the 12 months,
Man, let me tell you something. I'll ask him, do you follow Daryl? Daryl's I'm a big let me see if we can pick it up. I'm a big NRL. I don't know if you follow the NRL at all.
Would that be rugby?
Yeah, the league in Australia. Do you follow that at all, or
not in the slightest? No.
Yeah, Daryl's been. We've been pretty good with this. I mean, basically, what I do is here. I mean, the Penrith is pretty good, so kind of slide this down to like wherever I'm comfortable, -480 there, and then kind of come through and say, this South Sydney team is pretty good. I'm going to grab them, and then maybe Brisbane money line. And then you get like I don't know why there's no parlay there, but you get the parlay odds, and it's sorry, these odds cannot be combined. All right, we'll do this. And then you get you get a parlay of plus whatever, plus 120 or plus 130. I've been pretty successful with it. So, Daryl, this week, we're targeting Penrith, Brisbane, and South Sydney, the Bunnies. These games, you see these odds are pretty tough. Maybe you could bet Parramatta if you want to add that on there. I don't know why they're not letting you do parlays here. I have to X out of the site and come back. But those were the ones you should kind of target. And we'll talk a little more about that. Yeah, there you go. So plus 275 for that. If you want to take Parramatta out, it's plus 147 on the money line. And then Penrith, if you want to kind of scoot that down to -3.5, 480, you get plus 151. Those are the plays I would go with. It's amazing, Alistair. Like, hey Silva, how you doing? It's a pretty interesting community of people we have watching the show here, and I've kind of, it's mostly soccer, but we've been pretty, this is I think the third or fourth week we've been doing it. We've made some money doing the I just bet favorites and big favorites. Guy making some money doing that, and it's interesting here because you go to sleep. It's so early in the morning there. It's probably 2 a.m. where you are, and you just kind of put the bet in. You go to sleep and you wake up, and then you got maybe $100 in your account. You're like, oh man, I hit a parlay. So it's pretty cool. Hey Silva, how you doing from Portugal? So we try to hit all. We try to hit the Formula One. We try to hit the soccer. We try to hit all kinds of stuff. It's a little bit of the European flavored stuff on the show, and it's been pretty good so far. So thanks for coming on, Alistair. Definitely if you want to come on anytime, for Thursdays or whenever you can come on, I would definitely love to have you on and represent covers and talk about anything you want to talk about. So.
Right on, man. Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was fun. I like the way that you cross all the niche sports there. We covered it all.
Yeah, I do the how to bet in the fall. I mean, we're really good. I mean, we had like 70% of our football bets. It was crazy how good we are with the parlays. But there's a lot of money to be made in soccer and rugby and Formula One, like we talked about. And listen, if you're late, Daryl and Silva, if you're late, and Pete, if you're late to the show, make sure you go back and talk and watch the show and hear what Alistair had to say about the Formula One, because this is a pretty good weekend to make some money. If you think Leclerc is going to have a good chance. So, all right, so that's the show. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be talking about MLS. We'll have Kaepernick on, Tony on. We'll have all kinds of stuff. We'll go more into the Champions League final, into that playoff final, and some of the MLS games and all these UEFA Conference League and Nations League and everything else that's going on. So make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure you're watching. Remember, we have $1,100 first bet insurance. Plays a first-time wager up to $1,100. Get it back in the form of a free bet. If you lose, Caesars ATS wins CZR. And make sure you're liking, subscribing, and watching all the other shows. We got all kinds of shows. We got a really cool show, Alistair, on Friday nights, where it's called Total Chaos. We go and we try to find, 2 or 3 games. They used to do it with baseball and football, and they started doing it with soccer now. So it's been pretty cool. We've been pretty. I think last week I was 5-0. So we got all kinds of different stuff, and then obviously the Formula One show. So, but Alistair, once again, thanks for coming on, and we will see you all tomorrow. Oh, we got a comment. Good job, guys. Wash hands. All right. Foxy, if you want to watch this, just quickly, if you want to watch it on the YouTube, you can remember, you can go back and watch all the shows at any point. So if you want to go back and watch on the YouTube, go back and watch it. So, definitely if you have any kind of, right as the lawnmower comes, we're going to end. So if you ever want to watch this stuff, and once again, follow me on Twitter at the Prodigal Sean, and you can watch. Make sure you do, because he had Alistair had a lot of good picks today. So thanks a lot, and I will see you tomorrow.